Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols, and
I'm Dave Kenny.
we're going to talk about what your village councilmen are doing, your planning commissioners, and whoever is making legislation that's affecting you, and not this guy because he doesn't live here, but most everybody.
But I enjoy the show.
And we'll try to throw a little humor in as we go along.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah,
What's first on the agenda?
As little humor as we can provide, which is you.
Well,
Okay, no, we won't. First one we're going to talk about is the Oxford Village Council, which we usually lead off with, right?
good.
And do you know what happened then?
Well, I understand from our manager, Bill Service,
Earthquake.
there was a real torches and pitchfork meeting, meaning there was so many people at that meeting, there was barely room for Bill and his little camera.
Well, you know what they were dealing with? They were dealing with the ORV park that they're looking at. recreation
ORV
park.
meaning off-road
Road-
recreational vehicle.
Off-road vehicle.
Recreational vehicle.
Close enough.
Okay.
And where was that park going to go?
That was going to go in quite a large area bordered by essentially Lakeville Road and Ray Road.
And a lot of people. There are some housing developments along
Well, there are, and those were probably the majority of the people that were at that meeting. They would be
Do you think?
necessarily most impacted by any noise coming from such a park,
Really?
really.
Well, what kind of noise would be coming from the park?
I don't know.
It's a dead cat or a screaming cat that was run over by one of the ORVs.
Or a two-cycle engine.
Right. Well, anyway, needless to say, that room was packed, right?
Good.
And to the standpoint that we could see people hanging on the ledge on the outside, looking in with their noses pressed against the window. So we had to open the door so that they could hear what was going on.
If only all of our political meetings were attended that way, but they aren't. So,
Yeah, you never know how many people are going to attend. Matter of fact, there were a few complaints that, we should have known that we're going to have that requirement
That's
and
true.
that accommodation, but how do you know?
well, there's certain issues where you just know that someone's ox is going to get gored. And in that particular case, a ton of people show up.
Ox, it's going to be,
Well, as in Oxford. I don't know.
all right. Anyhow, they went through that whole process, and a lot of people spoke up as to why they didn't want to have this park. There were a few people that did stand up and said that, they were interested in having the park. There were other issues that came up, and we're going to cover this again because actually this whole issue came up in last night's meeting with the Township Board of Trustees.
Well, the county's marching all these hearings around the various political meetings. I assume, I don't know if that terminates what they want to do, or they did come to a conclusion, didn't they?
I can tell you more later.
You always do.
I will. I promise I'll get back to it.
They used to call that the hook.
Oh, really?
Stay
Who's they?
tuned. Stay tuned, and
Who's they?
we'll have more later.
They who? Okay. Anyway, so that's part of what they covered, during the Oxford Village meeting. They talked about sign ordinance, which that seems like that's been going on for a while, huh?
Yeah, it's out of the planning commission, isn't it?
It's out of the Planning Commission, has been moved to the Village Council. It actually is put on, in the newspaper, excuse me, as a first reading,
Okay.
and that was approved.
Were there any subsequent issues that popped up?
There are going to be some issues.
No. There's always. Oh no, they're going to send it back to the planning
I
commission.
guarantee that there will be some issues. But anyway, as a whole, they did a great job.
Great.
Even has pictures. You'd enjoy that.
Oh, I like pictures.
Shows you where the little signs have got to go and where the big signs have to go and how they're supposed to look.
Was there some issue with sandwich boards?
There is an issue with sandwich boards. Well, actually not if you consider, the decision or what they want to do with the Planning Commission is eliminate them, which would be no problem.
But there's two kind of sandwich boards. There's the kind that's stationary, the little A-frames,
One
and
that
then
has
there's the
feet.
kind that has a person in the middle.
Has feet. It's hard.
Yes,
it's
yes,
hard
has
to
feet.
nail that sign down though. It keeps moving. Did you notice that?
Kind of looks like it should be out of Alice in Wonderland with hearts and stuff, and I don't know.
Hey, actually, yeah, you're right. I don't know if that's even covered on the signage. Now, I did read it, and I don't recall seeing anything in it, but if they eliminated all sandwich boards, that would, I would think, eliminate that
Maybe
one as well.
maybe they call that one a sandwich to go.
Probably is, yes.
Okay.
How do you catch a sandwich to go? It's on the run. You don't. Okay, so anyway, that's the subject that they need to clear up.
Right.
And there's a number of people that disagree with that, and a lot of them are business people.
What do they disagree with?
Well, the signage board, they feel, a number of them, that there should be sandwich boards because it does promote sales internal to the store.
Mhm.
If you have a special food, like you have a king-size hamburger weighs 300 pounds for $2, you might put that on a sandwich board.
And
so
usually-
people going by, they'll see it.
And
Help
usu-
wanted.
And usually it's a very transitional thing. It's only open
Yeah.
when that business, or it's only on the street or on the sidewalk, that is,
Mm-hmm.
when the business is open, and then they remove it and pull it back in the store.
I think you have a valid point on this, and I think, it is in the newspaper for the first reading. That will invite people in, to the council to give their opinions. The council then will take that information, of course, make a motion to go one way or the other with it. I don't believe there's any other issues with that. Oh, yes, there is one.
If you wait long enough, there will be.
Yeah, there's another one with electronic signs. They've eliminated electronic signs
Altogether?
altogether.
Really?
Yep.
I thought they approved a few.
No, not that I know of.
Wasn't
and-
there a gas station up the way?
Oh, well,
that-
you can have that type of electronic sign if it's approved, by the council and a permit is granted.
Oh,
You know,
but they're usually looking at stationary, that is to say, there's no revolving information on the sign.
Right.
Okay.
Well, even the signs that are hanging that say, look, we're in here, in neon or something, you can't, I don't believe, use
Not even the
those.
one that says open?
Well, I don't know about that one. It's electronic sign,
Yes, it is.
so I imagine they
Maybe
get.
electronic is classified as something like with LED lights as opposed to neon lights, which are pretty stationary.
Well, I don't know. I think most neon signs even have controllers in them now, so.
Well, they can flash and change colors, but that's about it.
You know a lot about those. Flashing and.
Hey, I've been to Las Vegas. It's all
changing
neon.
colors. Never know who this guy is. He should be in a sandwich board. He keeps on the run. Anyway, the other thing was the Pollyant Trail Bridge that goes over 24.
Yes.
They're concerned about, they've eliminated all signage on that bridge.
No, they haven't.
What kind of signage do they have?
They've got the Dragon Festival in Lake Orion up there today.
Well, right now they can because the ordinance hasn't been passed.
Oh, well then.
As soon as the ordinance is passed, watch out, Dragon, here they come. Right?
Okay.
So the thought was originally to allow people to have signage up there if they get a permit, to have it.
Okay.
And that the letters have to be, let's say, a foot high, so at least you can read it when you go under,
Yeah.
It's a bad thing when you're trying to go under that bridge and you're trying to read a real fine
Well,
letter.
when
All of
you're-
a sudden, there's somebody in front of you. What happened?
Well, when you're traveling at the legal speed limit, and some people don't, there's only so many words you can read off that sign.
Yeah. Who's a somebody,
Not me.
Nobody? Oh, okay. You don't want to even mention on the air?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that being said, I think those things are up for grabs yet. I think people are going to get their 2 cents or 10 cents or 50 cents or how much
2
you got?
bits.
2 bits. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yes, okay.
They'll get that in, and of course, if there needs to be a change, they'll make the change as necessary.
Again.
Again. But, it's so close. This is close to getting done.
Closer and closer they got, step by step, inch
Yeah,
by inch.
there are other issues involved here, which we'll talk during the next segment of this.
Okay.
Okay? Until then, we'll take a break.
Hi, and welcome to the final edition of Saddle Up. We'll be
Hi, welcome back to Billion Temple CrossFit. I'm your personal trainer.
Now, the perch just weren't here naturally. Something brought them here.
Welcome back to Daybreak with Susan and Joe, and we're going to wrap up our session here today and talk a little bit about water.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols,
And I'm Dave Kenny.
and we just left off with the village council, and we were talking about signage. But one of the reasons why it took so long, which took over 3 years to get this thing done, is there's so many people involved in trying to make this decision, about the sign, way it should read, the ordinance.
Mhm.
And the ordinance is probably about a quarter of an inch or so thick, so there's quite a bit, in it.
But I've got to give it to Sue Basardi, who wanted to stay on that committee and push it through, and she pushed it through. Now it's in someone else's hands.
Right. Now, originally, I was on the planning commission too, and I felt they were that close at that time. Because we went through it, and there's a lot of redundancy, and we just, did away with the redundancy. Apparently, there's more redundancy. And they couldn't reach a decision with a body of 9, so they, Brian Cloutier correctly formed a special committee, which went into this, and it was resolved within a matter of maybe a month or 2 months.
Good for Brian.
Yep. And I agree, Sue Basardi provided good input to this, and fresh blood is what was needed, on that planning commission. The move right now is to change the planning commission numbers from 9 to 7. I'd really like to see 5, but.
Always
7
odd.
Yeah, but 7 is fine. If there are 7 members, they're allowed to have 2 council members on. If there are 9 members, they're allowed to have 3 council members on the planning commission. So right now, there's 2, and Sue has made no bones about it, that if another person comes to the planning commission, applies, and is qualified to do it, that she would remove herself from the planning commission and resign. And
Why?
let this person be on. Because really, some look at it as a conflict of interest, being a council member and being on the planning commission.
And
That's
if
the
there's-
reason.
And if there's 2 people representing the council with many less representatives on the commission itself, it gives them a dominant position.
It does, but if they're qualified people, you talk about domination, they cannot do anything unless the village council approves it.
True,
So-
but all they can do is recommend to the village council.
Right.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, that kind of came up the other day that, during a discussion on the council, that somebody misspoke and they said that the planning commission had approved this and therefore it should go through. And that person was corrected, by Mr. Elvinci. who
Of
said,
course, that's
all things stop here. We
And-
usually take, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, go ahead.
we always take their recommendations seriously.
And I can understand the criticism that, all the work has been done by the planning commission, and all of a sudden, some people perceive the council as being the armchair quarterback.
I think the way we look at the council is that we are tweakers. If it needs to be tweaked, it can be tweaked. There might be implications or ramifications down the line that there could be trouble, with that particular ordinance, the way it reads, or, and they may not see into that.
Now, do both the planning commission and, I know the council has legal counsel. Does the planning commission also have legal counsel if they need to?
Yes, they do.
Revise their, okay.
Yep, they have representation if they have a legal issue.
Okay,
They
so
have
they
a
can jump through
consultant.
those hoops.
They also have a consultant too, which is McKenna and Associates.
Right.
And they sit on that planning commission meeting every time they have one, once a month. And they do sit also on the council, which has 2 meetings a month.
So that helps them steer through some rather difficult legal
Yep.
paths.
And usually I have the lawyer to the right of me, which is a good reason. I don't know.
On your good side?
Yeah, my good side. We have a very good attorney. I think my last recollection is they've never lost a case. So they're a good guy to have on your right side. Okay?
Okay. Well, we wait to see what the final result will be.
Yep. Now, the last thing on the council, Tony Albinci formally resigned.
Oh, he did?
He did.
I mean, I know he said he was going to resign, but this is the official resignation, and the next meeting will be chaired by Dave Bailey.
He's a pro tem, and he
Yep.
will take that position. I mean, he may not, be in that position for a long period of time, because he's indicated to me and to others that he's not interested in being the chairperson.
Well, you don't have too many options
we don't
until the
have
next election.
Too many, we only got two.
But you got to have a next election to have viable candidates.
You
And
do.
I think the only other viable candidate right now is Maureen Helmuth, isn't it?
Right, but under the current legislation, ordinance requirements in the charter, he can serve in that position until the next election.
Yes.
And at that time, of course, they would create a new chairperson if that's what they
Correct.
want to do.
Yes.
But he's willing to take on that responsibility at this point. And like you say, we don't have a lot of choice at this point.
And
You
so much about
cannot-
being pro tem, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, if you're appointed to the council, you can not be ever either pro tem or chairperson.
So how many appointees are there right now?
Appointees, there's Sue Basardi and myself right now. We got
So
one
that's-
vacancy.
That's two of the five,
Yeah, but you have a vacancy now with Tony leaving.
right?
So someone is going to come in.
So that'll be three of the
It'll be
five.
3 of the 5,
Wow.
which isn't a very healthy situation, really.
Maybe you can have a special election.
No, we don't want to do that. They're expensive. Unless if people want to pay for it, and I don't think they would, and I wouldn't promote it anyway.
Well, when is the
You know how
next,
tight I am.
when is the next cycle of elections coming up? Not necessarily specifically for the town or for the village.
Yeah, it's got to be a county election. It's got to be, it's going to be in 2014, November.
And life goes on.
Life goes on. So we'll at least be in those positions unless the public wants to get rid of us for some reason, until that time.
Is that they'll disappoint you?
Well, actually, my term was supposed to expire this year, but they changed state law, which,
Now you're in forever?
no, I'm just in until 2014 November.
Okay.
And I made it very clear that I'm not running for the office next time. So I'm trying to help at this point. We have a lot of things to do.
And
Lot
if
of-
nominated, I will not run.
I will not. We have serious issues that need to be resolved. I'm really seriously sorry to have Tony leave. He understood the money, the financials, which are critical, that position. There's others that play on
And
emotions.
he ran a pretty tight meeting, too.
Yeah. There's others that play on emotions, and that's not what that board should do,
Right.
is in my opinion. There's other people that might disagree on her, but it's not my opinion. But talking about planning commission, the other alternative I would have is to eliminate the planning commission.
Yikes.
How about that?
And let the council do its work?
No, I want to save some money here. One thing, you cut back on the consulting fees, the attorney fees for sitting in, those kind of things. And if you look at the township, I mean, they're actually part of us. And if you watch their operation with Todd Bell,
Mhm.
Planning Commission, they run a tight ship. I mean, they know their stuff. It doesn't take long to get approvals through there. Recommendations are taken very seriously.
Todd manages that meeting
Yep.
very well.
He does, and the rest of the people that are on there. You got Jack Curtis and.
So are you suggesting that they should be the only planning commission?
Why not? They know the process. We're just a duplicate, is the way I'm
And
looking
the
at it.
village is technically part of the township.
Yeah, now let's go one step further. Well, I'm gonna drive this audience crazy. The ZBA could also go that direction as well. We
That's
meet
true.
once a year, every 2 years for ZBA, it seems like. It could take over that part. Well, that was kind of serious discussion, but we'll be back with a little more humor in just a moment. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols,
And I'm Dave Kinney.
and we just kind of had a serious discussion, first time for us probably, huh?
Yeah,
We're going to talk now.
still getting over it.
Okay, let's go to the Township Board of Trustees meeting, and that was just the other night. And I was there.
You were there, and so were how many other people?
Millions.
Millions.
This is a really big room that they had at the Veterans Hall, and it was packed. I mean, I think we ran out of chairs for everybody, and there were a number of people standing.
Were they there because we told people to show up?
I hope so. I would like to think that.
Or someone oxes was being gored?
I think probably the chitter chatter part of the community kind of, got in that link, and it just spiraled into this. They just showed up.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. And first thing that Bill Dunn, who's the chairperson, of course, the supervisor of Oxford Township, first thing he said is, let's at least, respect each other. When you go to the microphone, I expect that respect. I also look for the audience to not jeer or cheer either, or applaud, or, let's listen to everybody, let's hear what they have to say.
So there were no placards or balloons or anything?
He handled this meeting superbly.
Wonderful.
It was so smooth. At the end of it, Bill said, well, I was going to give you an A+, but one person got a little emotional, but not over the rim. I'll give you an A. He said you did really well. So it turned out good.
So let's get into the meat of it.
Yep, let's talk to the issues. They, of course, the Oakland County Special Committee for the ORV Park
Is
gave a presentation.
Mr. Noyes still doing
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay.
And they gave the presentation as to how things were going to be great, blah, 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 and went through that. It took them roughly about 15 minutes, maybe 20 at the most. And then it was opened up to discussion. Again, Bill Dunn reminded everybody to please, honor his request. And they did. First people up loved the idea. And most of them are machine riders, like motorcycles and the, what do they call those things again? ORVs?
Yeah.
Yeah. ORVs. Over the road.
Recreational
vehicles. And they just love them. And
Off
they'd
the road,
love to
I should
come
say.
here, and they would spend their money, blah, 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 and it went on. Well, it turns out that out of everybody that showed up that approved it, most of them were from out of the area.
Okay.
They weren't from Oxford or the township.
All right.
And they actually went to a park and actually checked on things called the Mounds, which is located in Mount Morris, to see what a actual park operated like.
I understand our own Bill's Service was out there
Yep.
too.
Now, if you catch it during the middle of the week, it's fairly quiet and decent. If you catch it on the weekend, a lot of times, especially if they have activities, it's noisy, really noisy. And they're allowed 94 decibels supposedly is the regulation, for the decibel
Okay.
level of the sound. You put about 90 of these things together, and it get a little noisy.
A very loud beehive.
Have you ever heard Bill killer bees coming at you? No, once.
Look at that.
Right.
You ask.
But here's the deal. People complained about this thing being too close to their housing development, that they could hear it. One guy said he could hear it for over 5 miles. One guy said that he loves to use his ORV, but he goes north for it. And he said he lives, his housing complex is next to where this place would be. He says, I do not want it here, I can tell you. So that was very powerful. They also had 2 expert people who were veterinarians who stated that these vehicles and horses do not mix, and there's horse farms and ranches all around it. So not a good idea. Of course, the value of the property was a concern, all those kind of things. Now, here's the end part. When this is all finished and they got to the last person, and there was 33 of them that said that they liked it.
Yep.
There's 9 who said they didn't like it. I mean, 33 didn't like it. 9 said that they did like it. And then there were 7 that was kind of non-committal.
Well, that didn't constitute a vote. It only constituted
No.
the amount of people that showed up at the
But
meeting.
Bill Dunn said, we are not going to spend more money for the testing that they want to do by going for a grant. The people of Michigan or this area do not need to spend more money. It's gone way too far. We can hear the voices of the people. I make a motion that we disapprove this and not allow it.
How'd the vote go?
Unanimous. They all
Wow.
agreed it. So it's done. Okay, you have some final things to say, quick?
Well, yes, we have meetings coming up. On 8/20 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission. And on the same day, at 7 o'clock, Addison Township Public Library Board. And on 8/21 at 7 o'clock, the Addison Township Fire Board. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Pollyant Trail Management Council. And at 7 p.m., the Oxford, I can't even read my own writing.
Okay, I think he's done.
On 8:22, this o'clock, the Oxford Township Planning Commission, and on 8:26 at 6:30, our own OACCC Commission is going to be meeting, and that's the group that controls the station.
Okay, well, this is Minutes by Minute, and I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And till next time, we'll see you then. Hey, that looks like a rattlesnake. That don't look anything like writing.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights.
I've always appreciated the American Legion's
My gratitude to the American Legion.
Thank you all to the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization. Thank you.
The American Legion. We serve America and its veterans. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These four pillars shape our work and what we do for America. There is power in our numbers. We're the largest organization of wartime veterans in the nation. We are 2.5 million members strong, men and women from every state in the nation and around the world. No other veterans organization wields this kind of power. We work relentlessly within our four pillars of service, and we succeed. The American Legion takes care of our fellow veterans and their families. We maintain close ties with Congress and the leaders in Washington, D.C. They respect us. They listen to us. We sponsor research and press for medical care and benefits for all veterans and active duty service members, whether they are members of the American Legion or not.
President Roosevelt signs G.I. Joe's Bill of Rights.
You've heard of the GI Bill of Rights, one of the most important pieces of social legislation of the 20th century. It was written and passed largely through the efforts of the American Legion. We were instrumental in the formation of what is now the Department of Veterans Affairs to make sure our veterans get the care and benefits they are promised and deserve. The young people of our nation are our future. They benefit from exceptional programs and generous scholarships that only the American Legion offers. We provide athletic programs like American Legion Junior Shooting Sports, Legion Baseball, and educational and civics programs like the Oratorical Scholarship Contest, and Boys State and Boys Nation.
As Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black stated, the quality of justice that Americans receive should not depend upon the amount of money they have.
We promote citizenship and an appreciation of government. We have all been directly involved in our nation's defense as wartime veterans. We know what policies, tools, and manpower our military needs to protect this great country. We fight to get these things done.
We're all very grateful to have the American Legion on point.
We take our case all the way to the top in Washington, D.C. to ensure that America is prepared for any threat. We are patriots through and through. We believe in our flag and all that it stands for. Our Constitution, our Pledge of Allegiance, our way of life are all fundamental to maintaining our freedom and the standing that we have as the greatest country on earth. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. These pillars represent not just what we do, but who we are. We're here to serve our fellow veterans, their families, and all of America. We are here for them. We are here for you. The American Legion asks you to join us in our mission. If you share our vision and commitment to America, visit our website at legion.org or your nearest American Legion post today.